Welcome, everybody. My name is Vicky Hanna, and I'm creating for you just a short recording to go with your resources for the unit CHCMHS 012. I'd like to walk you through what are the knowledge and the skills evidence that you need for your assessment work. Just a bit of an overview around what is this unit, how does it apply to your role as a mental health support worker, and of course for anyone who is studying at diploma level, what the expectations are of the sector as well. And stay tuned. I'll walk you through this process. So provide support to develop wellness plans and advance directives around the care plan that we have for our clients. So before we get started, in all of our Haida culture, our values base sits around First Nation people, and I'm coming to you from Tarrabalane Bundaland in Queensland. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Haida Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders, past, present and emerging. And I'd like to extend this acknowledgement out to any of our learners that are watching this recording, and of course the learners that come into live classes. So a little bit of housekeeping when you come into live classes, but for a pre-recording like this, just want to let you know that sometimes the topics and the content can be triggering. Please take care of yourself. This is a short recording specifically as a resource for you. I'm going to walk you through some tips and tools of what that's actually like and bring the sector process into this space. This will come to you also with a live class recording. So the pre-recordings are an overview of what you're required to do, but mostly around the focus as a learner toolbox talk for the assessments and what we're looking for there, how we mark it, to also help you feel supported in this space. So in your first session, you will have covered what the legal and ethical considerations were, how we support people with mental health issues, how to create a wellness plan, which is a document that you use as a worker. What it doesn't replace a treatment plan, which is usually for a clinical team, part of the Alliance Circle. Your role is as a support worker and then doing that intake assessment, ongoing case management and reviewing. That's a collaborative space. That's something that you and the client will work on together, whatever their priority of needs are, their human rights, their dignity of risk, where their readiness to be able to apply. We work in that space and meet our clients at the place where they are and how they present. But I also wanted to cover a little bit around how you look after yourself as a worker in this space. So the types and formats of wellness, we've got a document that we've embedded into your assessment, but I'm also going to show you that document in this brief recording. So people with the lived experience of mental health issues, when we work with them, we put a framework around it. It's evidence-based that we work with. You might have different models if you're working in the sector. It may be a government-funded one, but it will definitely have a practice model that you're working with, and that'll be embedded with proven mental health approaches in a non-clinical way. This is a non-clinical qualification. However, on a day-to-day basis, we work with clinical people as part of the wraparound supports, the Alliance Circle. So it's good to know what stakeholder roles are, and then your role as well, where that stops and starts. What is within the scope of your role, and to have a good understanding around the client-centred approach that you're there. So we have three responsibilities when we work in the sector. We have our first responsibility is to our client, always, and then secondly, ourselves and peers. And then thirdly, the organisation, not necessarily in that order. I like to see that as a circle, a bit of a pie graph. And that gives me my balance, always returning back to, is everybody okay in this space? I'm hearing it from the client, meeting the client's needs, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusivity. We need to have a good understanding around their capacity to understand, do they have capacity to understand informed consent? And then that developmental approach that we work with someone who may be unwell. We don't do a diagnosis. Then we need to look after ourselves. Layer upon layer of working with our clients can leave an imprint on us as workers. So we need to look at our own care and then to keep an eye out on our peers in this workspace. And that does include our stakeholder relationships, where we're doing those seamless referral pathways, making sure that the referral is working, that we didn't just sort of send someone off to get support and then we don't follow that through. How was that? Was that a good fit for you? And always coming back to the client about if that wasn't a good fit, making sure that we're reviewing that. What would it look like if it was working well for you, and how we would approach that? I want to walk you through the steps as a mental health support worker in that space and reflect on the needs of the people living with a mental health issue, and maybe some of our extra people in our clients alliance circle, like family, significant others, and then also in the workplace. So the legal and ethical considerations, of course, will always sit around the 1988 Privacy Act. It's a Commonwealth Act. And then we also have our framework around states and territories. It is on us as workers to have a good understanding of what the guidelines are in our own state and territories. I know, for example, I can record a conversation without my client knowing or anyone knowing in Queensland. What I cannot do is share that recording with a third party. It's for memory, for recall, part of your file notes, because your file notes need to be an accurate record of fact based on the qualifications that you have. Your file notes may be subpoenaed at some time for court or a coronial inquiry, depending on the circumstances. So sometimes people find a recording is helpful for that, or you need to be able to play that back and process it so that you can review that plan before you put that forward for your client. But there's some legal and ethical considerations there. We're going to have a look at an advanced medical order, again, a legal document. It may be different in your state or territory, and it's up to us as workers to find out what are those requirements in my state or territory where I live, where I'm most likely to be working with clients. So based in Queensland, I'm a JP. I am someone that can participate in the document that goes before the courts. What we're looking at is the framework around an advanced medical directive. You won't be authorised to do that. It actually requires a panel. It's a matter that goes before the court. Someone can raise it, but it also goes before the mental health unit of clinicians. You are one part of that, but you're raising your concerns based on duty of care. Once it used to be just one family member could action that. Now there's more protection or human rights around it as well. But we still need to have an understanding of what is an advanced medical directive. What does it mean for the client? What does it mean for how we share our information, both legally and ethically when we're working in this space? So it's when a client threatens to harm themselves or others, we can disclose. When a client discloses sexual abuse of a child, we can disclose. We have a higher need to report your duty of care, but that is not subjective. That is framed around legislation. So you're well supported in that space if you've got the knowledge and you're working with that. And when a client discloses information which leads you to believe that maybe there's a potential for a client to be at risk of sexual abuse, then we need to make sure that we have done the mandatory reporting around that. So you may be working for an organisation that is not a mandatory reporter, a tier 1 org, so a GP, a nurse, child safety, whatever you call these departments in your state or territory, educators as well, police. So often police will have like a vulnerable persons unit sitting inside, child safety are connected. All those tier ones work off the same dashboard. So your dashboard while you're studying with us is called First Access, but tier one providers and tier two, I sit in tier two outside of HADA, but I work very closely with tier ones. They refer down and I refer up. Okay, so what's your role? What's the scope? What's the guideline? What does your organisation say you can do within your position description? For the purpose of this unit, CHCMHS012, you just need to have an understanding that they exist. What kind of information would be helpful to have on file? And is this something that I need to report and let my line manager know? In First Access, we have all of those reporting requirements. So make sure that you refer back to the policies and procedures of the organisation you work for if you are an existing worker. But if you're new and you're entering this field, then use the First Access dashboard. It's great. I love it. It's very similar to lots of organisations that I've worked with. I can go in there and grab a policy and procedure. I can jump in there and grab a template. We try and put those links for you in your assessment porthole. But the point of giving you this learner guide, a toolbox tool, is to help you navigate what is the expectation of you when you're doing these assessments. So there are 4 tasks, task 1, task 2, task 3 sits around your role plays, and I want to emphasise that for you today in this recording. And task 4 happens in the workplace when you go out and do your time that you're working in the sector. It may be the place where you're currently working if you are a sector worker already, or it could be a place that we arrange for you. We will find one place for you. You attend that interview. If you agree to go forward, then we've assisted you in that. But if you've got another place or that's not suited, finding your own work placement is definitely something that we encourage. We will find you one. And we need you to accept that if it meets the requirements. If it doesn't, you definitely can feed that up. But it's about, does that host employer give you access to the opportunity to be able to complete your assessments that you must complete and have signed off by a supervisor in a setting that will strengthen your knowledge and your skills and meet the requirements for your diploma level qualification. So you have 200 hours of work placement, and we're bringing some of that sector in while you're doing your studies. So work placement is a separate conversation. Happy to have that with you if you'd like to feed that up to learner support officers. Our learners will do work placement when they're about 50% through their units and completed. Make sure that a completed unit includes all tasks, including role plays. Otherwise, the unit is never completed. It will only show in our system as in progress, which means that you might have gone through and picked out bits and pieces. If you leave the role play, know that that unit is never completed. So we need 50% completed units, and then we're confident that we've done our duty of care around you being ready to go into the workplace. You're going to be around some very vulnerable clients. We need to know that you're okay and you have enough underpinning knowledge in your studies to be able to go out there and do that work. So if you're just starting, that may be a few months away for you. There's 18 months for a diploma. You can start earlier if you are a sector worker. However, there's additional assessments to do also while you're in the workplace. So we want you to navigate this space and feel confident and comfortable before you head out there. But that's very individual as well. It's not hard and fast, but it's a guideline. Do we send out people in work placement earlier if they request it? Absolutely, if it's a suitable place. And we have to determine what that is. There's a checklist that we must meet under the regulations. So that's a space that we work in together. We have a company that we outsource only the administrative process and the checks. You remain a HADA learner at all times, and your learning journey, whether it's in classes or if you're a self-paced learner or in work placement, your connection remains as an enrolled learner with us, and your trainers and assessors are there to assist you with any of the assessments, your academics or when you're in work placement. So your legal and ethical considerations sit around there. These slides have come out to you as a resource. I'm not going to chalk and talk this. I'm going to get down to how can I help you best of all to navigate this assessment space. So let's return over now to where I've created a toolbox talk for us to work with. Okay, welcome back. Just a quick pause while I jumped in and grabbed some tools for us. So this is what I call a learner toolbox talk. This is not in your porthole. This is something that a trainer will bring into your classes to help it do an overview of the full unit, and that's what I'm doing. This isn't necessarily attached to any particular task, but this is going to walk you through what your knowledge and your skills evidence is required to be able to complete this unit successfully. So for the unit being CHC and HS012, it is just to guide you around the self-care and the support strategies, a little bit of an introduction around it. So it's about self-reflection, debrief and self-care for learners who are doing Diploma of Mental Health. So it's a little bit of a checklist. It meets the Australian Government guidelines, training.gov, and there are regulators that sit in this space. So when you do a nationally accredited qualification, every RTO has a benchmark and our assessments are based around that. You will do about 75% of your learning from what we provide you, and an additional 25% of your own research. You'll go to those state or territory legislative boards, the authorities. You might go to different agencies, your own health departments. So then we have the Commonwealth, and it's good to know the federal as well as your state or territory. There are some differences, but if you're working in a postcode, then you need to have a good understanding of what guidelines you're working to. So we make it broad and we give you examples. Sometimes I'm working with someone who's in Victoria, and of course HADA's head office is in Victoria. So we do have a lot of our work based there, but we also know that our learners are Australia-wide and overseas as well. So we bring it back to who is your client, where are you located, and what framework, guidelines, authority are you working to? So it is on us to know what the legislation sits around for different states and territories. This covers a little around the legal and ethical, and it covers a lot around the knowledge and the skills. Okay, so just a brief overview, and I will definitely send this document out for you as something to put in your toolbox as well, just an additional resource. So with the guide, this is just for you. It's a bit of an introduction. It is about recognise the signs of work-related stress, compassion, fatigue and burnout for you as a worker. Maintain your healthy boundaries between work and personal life, leaving some external pressures out. And is that overflowing into your day-to-day? Or is your day-to-day with your clients overflowing into your personal life? It's about everyone having a mental health, and for us to be able to be sustained in our roles is making sure we model that well-being, the very thing that we're trying to help our clients through. We'll need to have those healthy professional boundaries, engage in supervision, team meetings and peer support, and utilise the resources, policies and procedures, and of course our examples come from First Access. And then develop and maintain healthy routines and rituals. If I walk, if I eat, if I drink water, I'll be fine. So the same wellbeing plan sits around our clients. What's your nutrition like? What's your sleep hygiene like? What's your physical movement like? What's your social connection like to community and supports around you? What are some of your own goals? And this is for you as much as it is for your clients. So we practice mindfulness and stress reduction. Breath work is very easy and it's very portable. We can teach ourselves and we can teach our clients to do so that we help them find a regulated space, that window of tolerance when we're working with them. Seek professional help when needed. For our clients, they're seeing you. For them, that is them reaching out. You are their professional help. However, for us, you may in the workplace have an employee assistance program, or you might like to call one of the 1300 numbers. So 13 11 14 is Lifeline, or 13 Yarn is for First Nation. But there are some others. There's some very interactive ones on Black Dog. There's great ones on Beyond Blue, or if it's a younger person, then YB Blue, which is that youth specific. There's good suicide callback ones as well. So even as a student, I encourage people to reach out and unpack some of those things. You taking on a study load is extra to what you were doing. If you work, and your time was full and you've added study on, no, and I acknowledge that you are spending between 15 and 20 hours a week to complete your diploma in the 18 months. 20 hours is actually the guide for a diploma level work. So classes, a very small portion of that, the recordings of the classes, the time that you spend reading your learner's guide, going through the assessment portal, and then doing your own research, finding out, well, who might be a potential employer for me? What is a position description? What are they asking of people who want to work in this sector? Or if I'm working in this sector, have I viewed my position description and my employment contract differently now that I'm studying, where I'm seeing the relationship around the three, the client, myself, and the organisation that we have, and our rights and our responsibilities around that for every person. There's a lot of mental health language that sits around, but how do we start our conversation with our peers and our clients, and checking in with ourselves? Am I okay? And then for others, are you okay? And starting that conversation in a meet and greet. I love to do it in class. I'll do a nice check-in. How are you traveling? And we use the scale of 1 to 10. So when you start this short recording, pick yourself a number between 1 and 10. When I'm here, I'm watching this and I'm a little lost and I'm in a labyrinth and I kind of need some guide, and I'm hoping that's what I'm going to be able to give you by the time we finish this recording. But then if you're checking in as a 1, that might be things outside of your study, but study on top of those things might leave you in that lower state if we're looking at our window of tolerance. Or you might be feeling like an 8 or a 9, like really ready, motivated, let's get stuck into that. Wherever you are is fine. Every single person has a mental health. So we need to acknowledge that we have our days where things are at a 1 or a 3 or a 4, and that's great. 5 is kind of in the center, kind of okay. I like to find out what you check in our live class, and then what are we checking out as? So just some reflection while this recording is on. Give yourself a number between 1 and 10. 1, I'm here. 10, I'm so happy I could skip, and Vicky, I'll do the next recording for you. So somewhere in there, just write it down, just a bit of reflection. And then at the end of the recording, just do another self-reflection and go, you know, I'm feeling a little more confident, a little more informed, or at least now I know what questions to ask to get that support. So you need to look after yourself while you're looking after others. So that's our culture of how we work as workers. So are you okay? Are you traveling? And then listen and pause. I'm here to listen if you want to talk. Encourage action. Have you spoken to anybody else about this? Is this the first time that you've ever had support? Have you ever been to counselling in the past? What was that like for you? And then check in. Just wanted to check in and see how you're travelling. And we would do that each time. So how are you doing? How are you travelling? What's your language? What's your style as a support worker? So ask, are you okay? Listen, encourage an action, and check in with that person each time. So I'm here to hear. It's a great movement. It happens around that mental health week that we do from September through to February are the most heightened states. There's a few milestones, the weather changes, there's external factors when we're working with our clients around mental health. It's not accidental. They didn't just pick October for Mental Health Week. It is a very challenging time for people. And it's at the time of the year where, gosh, we're almost finishing another year. And did I achieve or have I done the things that I had hoped for myself this year? Our clients are reflecting all the time. It's what do they say when they talk to themselves? When we step into that role, we give them a different dialogue to work with. We frame it with our micro skills, our intentional interviewing skills, our compassionate inquiry, our active listening, our paraphrasing, our summarising, our body language, our energy. That's why it's important that I check in with you, that you're going okay, and you check in with yourself so that if we're okay, we can work with somebody else so that they are okay as well. So what do we look for in this unit? Your knowledge evidence. I've just written out my checklist, which is what I need to know that when I'm delivering this training, are my learners knowing what it's got to look like at the end of this unit to feel confident, at least to have some underpinning knowledge, and then build on that. Go for progress, not for perfection, and know that you are supported in this space by us with your studies. So you'll need to know the mental health principles, so understanding of those mental health principles and the recovery orientated approaches, the legislation and the policy that's legal and ethical, wellness plans and directives, we're going to cover both of those, the role of you as a mental health worker, and the rights and responsibilities of your clients, yourself, the carers, those significant others of our clients. What's your collaboration strategies? How do we build that individual support plan together with them? The wellness plan isn't your opinion or your advice. It's actually done with our client. And that's what your role plays are going to be. Barriers and approaches. Are there obstacles in the way? We can't be their barrier. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can do and that we are not part of the problem for our client as well. Cultural safety and competence. It's in our language, it's in the setting. It's also in the appropriate and relevant referral pathways. Are they accessible? Are they well suited? Did we check after we did the referral if they attended and if it was a good fit? You may have a great relationship with your client, but if we referred them somewhere, is there a change? What do you know about who you're referring them to? What's the feedback about that service? Who is delivering good services in your area where they form part of a wraparound support plan for your client? So you work together. You are not meant to do everything for your client. We don't do for our clients what they can do for themselves. We work on strength-based approach, and then where there's gaps, if it's outside your role, then we bring in an alliance partner and we'll do a referral. We'll do that with consent, and we'll advise our client that their story remains private and confidential with you, but the purpose of what that service does may fill a gap that we've identified together. But it's absolutely up to the client to share the elements of their story that they decide to. It's not our role to fill in the gaps. It's not our responsibility, and it's a breach of the trust between ourselves and our clients. So I like to let my clients know it is your story. How much you share of that story is entirely up to you, but they will provide specialised counselling that we don't offer here. But my role as your mental health worker, sometimes we might need like the employment services, or we might need the social workers at Centrelink to be able to assist, or it might be the GP. It's still entirely up to the client what they're going to share. Work off that model of nothing about me without me. I don't even do that in our own teams. If we do case conferencing, we do not identify the client that we're bringing in. We grab 3 files every week and we do case conferencing. I'm working with 3 clients. I've got a 17-year-old male, I've got a 54-year-old male, and I've got a couple that are coming in their 70s, if that is who we're working with. And then we talk about what is happening, what we have done in their wellness plan, how many times they've accessed the services, and then where they're up to. We want that input from our peers. We want you to be in class and bounce that around as well as sector workers or emerging sector workers. Make sure that you've got the confidentiality and consent, your disclaimer when you first start working with your clients. What are some of the signs of mental distress? It sits inside your assessment. What if we miscommunicate and we don't read that or we don't pick that up? What impact can that have on the client in that early intervention prevention? And then self-care and your supervision as well with your line manager, or you may be the line manager. How do you look after yourself while you're looking after your team who are looking after the clients? So your skills we need to be able to see for this unit is you will create a wellness plan, your particular micro skills, communication, that client's own choices, self-determination, even if we disagree, the dignity of risk that sits there. Collaboration, so you do your plan together. How you keep your files is a factual event. Your reflection in action with your client and then yourself, and then debriefing with supervisors and self-care. Some of these are demonstrated in skills and some are demonstrated with knowledge. So some may be written and some may be actually in a role play or a practitioner recording. So what does the assessor need to know for sure that you are competent and you've met those standards? Has the learner demonstrated an understanding of relevant mental health frameworks and legislation? Where do I go for those? We've named a few. Lifeline are great. 13 Yarn are great. They've got websites. Black Dog, Headspace, Beyond Blue, Sane, Origin. Think of some of those organisations that are well known. Wellways, Australia-wide, selectability. There's lots. There's some for young people and some for older people. Are they in an NDIS plan? They may be up to the age of 65. Otherwise, they move over into the aged care framework. What do you know about that? And this is where you get your own curiosity, learn about that. Oh, I need to know. I don't have to know everything, but I need to know some options. What's available in our local area when I start talking with the client about their own wellness plan? And we don't overpromise and underdeliver, but you can say, look, I don't know a lot about that, but let me find out before our next session. Would that be helpful? Or you may have some brochures, or you may do interagency meetings and network with stakeholders and find out who's who in the zoo. Funding can change, people can move to different organisations. That's you as a sector worker and your ongoing professional development. Has the learner, this is you, sorry, this is how our wording goes, have you participated in developing and reviewing at least one wellness plan? We ask for 3, and at least 1 advanced directive, that's in there, and a simulation or real context. So you might, look, I've got a client that I work with. We've even got allowances for that in our assessment. You can work with the scenario that we give you, or you can bring your own client experience or lived experience, provided it is within a professional framework. I know that a lot of people who work in the sector have a lived experience, and it's highly valued, that peer support worker. In some cases, the funding requires it to be someone with a lived experience. So all the more reason we have that duty of care in that space. This unit will make sure that we've covered all of those areas. Did the learner identify and respond to any appropriate risks, including a crisis or deterioration in someone's wellness? What were you looking for? What did you observe? In your notes, what is the CHCADV They presented really anxious. How do I know that? I saw them lose colour in their face and started to sweat. And then they stated that. So that's in one of the scenarios, and you can work to that. And it's like, what may the worker have missed, if anything? And we're just asking for your thoughts around that in your assessment, but I'll guide you over there soon. Has the learner maintained accurate and compliant documentation? It is a legal document. Your file notes are a record of fact. You may be subpoenaed and required to speak to your file notes as well. So do not write anything in your files that you would not be comfortable with the magistrate reading, or a coroner, or the client themselves about themselves. So you will maintain professional standards in your writing. If there's an incident report to fill in, it will be guided around factual events to the best of your ability. Okay, intention is everything. You are protected if you are applying the policies and procedures that you sign off in when you start working for an organisation. So can the learner describe and demonstrate self-care strategies relevant to your role? And then I like to do some self-reflection and debrief. That's our check-in space I was talking about. So after participating in a planning or reviewing a wellness plan or an advance directive, these are stressful tasks that we do in our role, reflect on these following questions. What went well in my engagement with the client and their support network? How did I ensure the client had autonomy and respect the legal of ethical boundaries? Did I model that in my session? What challenges did I encounter and how did I address those? How did I feel emotionally and professionally during and after that session with the client? And what would I do differently next time to improve outcomes? And this is very important for mental health workers, because vicariously we can feel that trauma, even if it's not true for ourselves, even if we have no lived experience. Story after story leaves an imprint. And these things can sneak up on us as workers. We know what stress does, and we don't function as effectively if we're very stressed. And if we work off our emotional bank account, what are our deposits? That's our own wellbeing plan. What are the withdrawals? Tough days at work or when we're under duress. It takes something away from us. And if we're not doing enough to make those deposits, then we can be overdrawn in that, and it will tax your body, will start to give you indicators that you look for professionally in your clients. Broken sleep, I'm short-tempered, noise. You might be more acutely aware. What's happening for me? Checking in with yourself. Am I okay as well? And then working with your supervisor, or making sure that you look after yourself and you have your own wellbeing plan and those rituals and routines that keep you there to maintain that. In a debrief, make sure that you schedule one with your supervisor or another peer informally, and focus on any distressing elements or ethical dilemmas. We can have a, I know that where they're headed with this isn't good, but I understand why. You've got a dilemma. So if you're torn between what's the next step, your protocols are very clear. You are required to follow the policies and procedures, and your employer is required to give you the resources and a safe environment to do that. So that's your workplace health and safety in every state and territory, except one, it's pending the law, Victoria. Psychological safety now sits under the workplace health and safety legislation. And if you don't know that, go in and have a look. How do we measure psychological safety? What is a psychological injury? So we used to say before that change in legislation, someone's gone off on stress leave, but it was very ambiguous. Now a lot of work has been done by you guys, by people who work in the sector, we know that it's insufficient. It fell short of looking after and protecting people. We may have clients that have had a bad experience in the workplace, and it is good for you to know what is their protection around that. What are their rights and what are their responsibilities? The only way we can know that is if you do that extra research for yourself with your studies. Get a credible source. So review what actions, and did that go well? I've been making sure I walk 3 times a week. That will improve my mental health. Get a bit of vitamin D, so catch 10 minutes of sunshine, you know, if you are an indoor kind of person. And then seeking feedback and asking for support. That can be very hard for people who help others to realise that that is a strength, definitely not a weakness. It means that you'll stay in the sector a longer time. Ensuring your self-care, recognise those fatigue management, compassion fatigue, where you're hearing people's story layer after layer after layer. It can leave you with quite a deep sorrow, a sadness, a complicated grief and loss about your clients' losses, where it's actually not happening in your world, but you are, if you are connected and you engage and you build rapport and trust, this can leave an imprint. Your body definitely keeps score. So practicing some techniques, breathing, mindfulness, relaxation. I'm a 4:30 a.m. Tai Chi person, rain, hail, or shine, no matter what. So I find that if I don't do that, my morning doesn't start quite the flow that I need. If I miss out a couple of things that I know that work well for me because I get busy or it's all in my head, you know, I'm running it around in my head rather than actually putting it into an action, then in theory I've got it, but in practical I haven't. And that's very much like our studies. In theory, academic, I can do the assessment, but you know what? When it comes to those role plays, that lights, camera, action, that does my head in. So you are not alone. That is very common, and I hear it all the time. So the role plays, we want to work in that space with you so that you feel confident. Your first one might be a bit wobbly. There's some absolutes that you must have if you're recording your own. We've got some amazing guides around our role plays for you to help you. I want you to go to those resources. They're in your porthole under announcements, and we've got a Discord app. And in that Discord app is, again, a menu of resources. They're amazing, do's and don'ts, nice, short and sharp. There's a couple of trainers that have jumped in there to give you some extra resources to put in your own toolbox so that you can head into that space. But I encourage you to come to classes and do your role plays in class if you can, or book a small group and then ask to book in and do that with an assessor. All of the trainers at HADA do that. We mark your written work and mark your role plays, but we also do role plays in real time. I love to do them in classes because it just means that we're knocking over that assessment work for you. So week 1, task 1, week 2, task 2, week 3, task 3, done. Next unit, keep going and have a bit of fun along the way. So that's a well-being culture in your classes as well. But if you cannot make it to classes because you've got competing priorities, 100% our recordings and our resources need to be valuable tools. If there's something we've missed, we absolutely value your feedback. And I want to say thank you. If you would like to share any of that, you can take your feedback to, in the first instance, your learner support officers. That is their email. I popped it there for you. You cannot always directly contact your trainer because they're sector workers and we're a night college. So we work kind of odd hours. And just know that there isn't someone there 9 to 5 from the training team, but there are a team of learner support officers from 10 a.m. in the morning, Melbourne time, till 7 p.m. at night. So even if my link doesn't work, that is the email that you tell someone. There's people there waiting for your email, or if your email comes in and you've got something that you'd like to feed up to us on continuous improvement, 100% that will come back to the trainers. So I am a trainer, but I'm also the program manager for all the trainers. So your feedback is very important to me, and I prioritise that. I try and look at what is it that would make that better, and I welcome that from all of you. So look, just following this guide and applying these strategies will contribute to your safe, supportive and recovery focused mental health environment that you create for clients and for yourself. We get you to do your role plays for your skills, your practitioner skills. We've got a couple of embedded videos in this one. Okay, I'm not going to say I didn't laugh, I did. So if you do, we're a small club, but you know, like, are we laughing at or are we laughing with? And so our clients present unusual things. So these are short role plays where someone has recorded it, but the reason why we have those recordings is for you to just reflect upon that. You are going to do your role plays for this unit with an assessor. It will be assessor-led. So they will work with you and they will give you that feedback immediately. So if you do it in class or you book in, there are 3 clients and you work with those clients twice. So there are 6 10-minute brief sessions that you must demonstrate around those clients. So when you're ready to do that, if you would like to do that, then let the LSO team know. If you didn't do it in class, then book in as a group. Your peers from classes, play the clients for each other, and we'll turn that into a really positive experience for you. I love role plays and I love working with our learners in the role play space, because that's where I know the confidence come from your ability. Academically and in theory, it's good to have that knowledge. It means that you're confident in what you're saying, but it's the doing that you also need to be confident. And this is knowledge and skills to achieve it at a diploma level, which is a certificate 5. We used to call it Cert 5. So it's higher than a 4. And it's quite likely that you'll end up leading a small team with this diploma. Whether you work in the sector or not, it is your experience and your qualifications that get you there. So that's my little toolbox talk, and I'll send this out as an attachment for you as well. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Okay. I never put down on my resume that I have amazing tech skills, and I never put down that I can read a map as well. So we're all good at some things. Just bear with me and I'll take you to another spot to be able to guide you and help you. Okay, so what you have is a document that will be in your porthole. It just says over here, wellness plan. You'll put your client detail. You have 3 clients you're going to do this for. You're going to make your notes around their physical wellness, nutritional, emotional, mental, financial wellness. Financial wellness is a very big part for people who live in that poverty line or they've lost their job, whatever is happening. We need the full wellness plan. Intellectual wellness, their capacity and cognitive ability, and the environmental, the things that are happening to them externally. It could be workplace, it could be family life as well. So let me share our medical directive, just as a guide. You'll find this in your resources. Oops, sorry, let me just make my screen a little bigger for us there. And just move that out. Okay, that should be a little bit cleaner looking for you. I hope you've got a better view over that. So just an advanced care directive. Now, a JP, like I said earlier, is that there's a whole team, but this is for you to gather the information. you'll need to have an understanding about it for this unit. So what are the symptoms that tell me I may not be able to make decisions for myself? They're the kind of questions, open-ended questions, like, is this something you feel confident? Do you have a good understanding? And then I'm going to appoint certain people to speak on my behalf. That may be an advocate, but it may actually be someone that they authorise to do this. And then if the above person is not available or refuses to act on my behalf, please contact the following person. So this means that an advanced care directive, an ambulance can put that on, police can put that on, they can hold somebody for up to 8 hours under the legislation in Queensland. I can't speak to your legislation, but if I was working with the client there, I would go and find out. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Know what happens in your state or your territory. It's not that you're giving legal advice, but you're working inside the legal and ethical framework to make sure that you're giving the information that's current and relevant, or you get somebody who has that. But here are your basics. How can I tell if I need somebody else to be making decisions with the client, for the client, and who do they trust? As a JP, when we sign off on this, we're very mindful that family members are not the ones who are doing the interpreting around something like this, that we have an independent person do that to ensure that if I don't speak that language, that the person is being told in a way that is about their rights as well, not necessarily being influenced by a family member who may benefit directly or indirectly, or their heart is in the right place, but they're guiding them in a way that may not be what that client actually wants for themselves, that someone's making that decision. So if we look at the Geneva Convention, under the United Nations, under the Human Rights Commission in Australia, our legal framework that we have here, we need to ensure that we are following those guidelines. And so it is on us to have an understanding or to know how to point someone in that direction for accurate information. And that's the hardest thing in this sector, is you don't know everything. I don't know everything. And I'm 29 years as a frontline worker. I'm always referring to people who know more, or the authorities. I want to make sure the information that I get is the accurate information. So don't beat yourself up if you don't know. Very few people do, unless that's their subject matter expertise. And even then, nobody is born knowing this. We all start completely ignorant until we learn more. And then as we learn more, we know more. So I'm hoping that you find that bit helpful. What I want to do now is just walk you into the portal briefly and show you what you're going to see. Okay, so we are over in Accelerate now. So your porthole might look different. I think we have different colours. This is what mine looks like from an assessor's point of view. You can see up the top, it's got your unit, CHCMHS012, provides support to develop wellness plans and advanced directives. And this is task 3. So the T3 up here, where my cursor is, T3 of 4. 4 happens in the workplace. So don't worry about that until you get into that. Don't worry at all, please. But yeah, that's not at the moment. Task 1, then task 2. Task 3 is big. That is your role plays, and it needed some work doing. And I want to thank the learners that fed that up to us so we can improve it. Sometimes it's a discovery for us as well until the unit comes up. We outsource, we get our resources like all RTOs. And if it's not sufficient, we end up being part of a team, meeting your expectations. If it's not clear, then we need to get your feedback. What would help you better understand? We need to be able to make sure that it makes sense for you, that it's fair, and that it's accessible for everybody. And if you need additional assistance, and you can't make it to class and ask those questions, then you would go to your learner support officers. And if it's a question they cannot answer, they will feed it down to the training team, usually to me. And then I may delegate that out to another team member, or I'll jump in there and work with you as well. Like to work in a group. I'm like efficiency and effectiveness. And I also think that the group, that collective wisdom, that you are stronger if you are together in that space. And I learn from you, and we share our information, and together we come up with some really great learning, which can happen outside of classes as well. So what does it say to do? The overview in red, it says, this is an assessor-led role play, which means because we have rolling starts at HADA, there isn't a set day in the schedule or a due date. Your due date to finish your work is in the 18 months. You can finish earlier, or if you need more time, you can ask for an extension. So it's not fixed, it's fluid, because it will meet your expectations and your needs. So it's not a competition, it's about you working at your own pace and then making sure you've got the resources and the support to make that happen. So when you are ready to do this, you let us know. If when it comes up in class and you didn't do the role play then for whatever reason, then you will need to book in and have that, because you will need other people as part of it. I like to do this one with at least 4 learners, at least. So I want you to case conference. I want to hear what you think about Clark and Lee and Julia. And then now they come back in for their second session. What might have been missed? And we're going to work together like colleagues in that space. So an assessor-led role play is what I refer to as a masterclass. That should be an amazing experience for you, and your assessor will assess you immediately. You'll know what it is that we're looking for, because we've covered that in my toolbox talk. You've got that in your recording, and now you're going to get that as an attachment. So with Clark, it starts off, it just says it requires you to develop a wellness plan for 3 people. Here they are here, Clark, Lee and Julia. And in the second part of it, they come back. So it's Clark, Lee and Julia. How's the wellness plan going? That's what that looks like. And then the section overview is about unpacking that, the effectiveness of that. So there's 3 parts to this, and it's all about those 3 clients. So it starts off part A. You must role play or act out a meeting with your 3 clients separately, one-on-one, with the role of your client being played by a pre-recorded video, which means you will watch that video, and that's the client. Someone's going to play Clark, someone's going to be Lee, and someone's going to be Julia in those recordings. So you must watch those to get a feel for how they present. Now, sometimes in our role plays, they're scripted, and you read the story and you interpret the story. With this one, for mental health, it's actually a visual scenario. So it gives you a bit of a feel. And you might all do Clark, but you will approach it differently, because you will be a different worker. Same competencies, same checklist, your own style. Okay. So you're required to role play a second meeting. That's the part B of this, with your clients, and you'll watch again the pre-recorded video of them at their second meeting, and we will observe you finalize wellness plans for your clients. So you'll start off and you'll talk about what the understanding is of the wellness plan. That's together, and then together you look at the progress. Is it working? Should we review, make some adjustments, put some extra things in, or take some of those things out because our goals have changed, or those external or environmental things have changed? And then C, you must then implement the 3 wellness plans. So you'll complete those that you developed in part A and part C. And then finally, you must prepare a report on the work you have done on parts A and part D. Okay, so your resources and equipment, you'll need your assessor, and there's several assessors that can do this with you. You will need 3 clients. These will be played by your peers and your classmates, and you yourself, the student. So your resources are wellness plan. That's actually a resource that's sitting in your porthole. If it's not there, please reach out to the learner support officers. I've shown you what that looks like. It's just a document. Access to the internet so that you can log into Zoom. a Word document because you're going to fill them in the templates, and then access to a simulated workplace environment, and then access to the scenarios, which is these embedded videos. You'll complete the task with an assessor who will arrange a time, but we won't know when you're ready unless you let us know. So we don't run around and say, hey, are you guys ready to do this one? When you're ready, reach out and we will then respond. We wait till we've got enough people to run that if we have not run that for you in class. But once we've got enough people, and you can get those people from your peers, this is not one that we do with family, friends, though if you are a sector worker, we could consider having a colleague, but they must watch the recordings as well. I prefer not to. Here's the reason why. If you do this with peer in class, they too have skin in the game. They're authentically experiencing what it's like to sit in the chair for you as the client. And that's really important for a worker to know what it's like. How did that feel? And then provide that feedback. So I might jump in and do some of those. I know that our Diploma of Mental Health has just recently finished doing this, and I would be happy to be setting up some scheduled times. Please let the learner support officers know when you're ready. Connect with your peers in class or connect with learner support officers so they can connect you. Okay, and be happy to do that for you. So your assessor will provide you with the guidance. That's this purpose of this little recording. And if you need to redo anything, it might only be a portion of that. So once you say you're ready, then we'll give you a Zoom link. I like to use the class one. It's easy. You've already got it. And we can send that out to you as a recording to be able to reflect on your work. Though, if you've got an assessor there in real time and you prefer not to have it recorded, absolutely. That is always the decision of the people that I'm assessing. This is your space. I want you to be comfortable. Okay, so I can do the things inside my control, provided you've got an assessor there in real time. You'll get your feedback straight away, and your assessor will give you an evidence document that you have passed, or they'll let you know what, I'd like you to do just one more. Another part, we're almost there. Take that feedback with the intention that is there to help you improve on those skills. But I've shown you what I must tick off as an assessor, what any of us must reach. And if you're not there yet, then there's support and encouragement and safety in that space when you jump in there to be supportive for your studies. So let me just click on this one here so that you know what it looks like. So it says you will meet with the client and complete a wellness plan. You'll do that in 15 minutes. So it says watch the following video role play with Clark and refer to this scenario for your role play. So instead of just reading, here's the story about Clark, it's listen to Clark and watch Clark. And I believe it's one person doing all of the characters, but that's not the point. What's your observation skill? What's your take on that? What does that look like? Where would you like to go to be able to provide a wellness plan for Clark? And does Clark have capacity, or are we looking at our medical directive or our advanced directive as well? So there's another one for Lee and another one for Julia. And then when you come to Clark again in the second one, this one's only 10 minutes. So a peer will play the client for you, and you will be the worker. You are the worker with every one of your role plays, unless you're asked to be a client specifically, but that's quite rare. So here it's intellectual property, so you can play that, and I could record it, but it's enough. I know I'm in that adult space. So what we're working with here is during each meeting, you must explain the purpose and the limitations of your wellness plan. That means what it will do and what it cannot do. And that's putting in a really clear guideline for the clients so that we haven't got that codependency or that imbalance of power in that space. So during the meeting, like, you must collaborate with each other, and we need to see you do that and assess your ability to do that. And then having a look at what's happened in the past and then being able to move it forward in the future, which of course is what hope and healing is, which is sitting around that recovery plan for people who have been unwell, and they're seeking that support. And of course, that support comes from us as workers. So that's task 3. And I find that role plays need a little bit more explaining. And I hope that I've been able to do some of that for you. Let me just show you on my screen how I set up a simulated workplace environment. I just go into my video icon on the bottom of my Zoom screen, and I click on that. And I have an option which says adjust my background. I work with this one background that I feel fairly comfortable with, and you might see some recordings where I use it, but this is my simulated workplace environment. I come dressed for work. That's what a simulated is. Think of yourself, if I am recording, would a client think I work here? Or would that client think that I'm another client waiting to see somebody? So you have to work in a simulated environment. I've got 2 chairs behind me. I have natural light coming through the window, got some music. I'm ADHD, ASD, so I have lots of fidgets in my own clinic that I work in, and our team have a small budget to decorate their counselling room. So everybody's room in our team looks a little bit different. We don't personalize it with our own family and things like that, but we might do it in the colors that we like. I kind of like neutral. I don't like to overstimulate myself or my clients. I need them to come into that regulated space. There might be amenities there, but if, say, for some reason you struggle with the tech, and I hear you, it's a learned skill, just make sure that you do something like this, that you have a blurred background, and then describe it. Look, I'm actually sitting outside today, but it's very private. No one can hear us talking, but my client felt really uncomfortable indoors, and we've got a lovely Zen garden just at our centre. And so we decided to head outside. It's a beautiful day, and we thought we might just have a chat and take our coffee out there. So set the scene. Tell me where you are, what's going on. Take me there, simulate that so I know what you're going to be like as a worker. So a blurred background is fine, but here's what's not okay. What's not okay is for you to be sitting in a role play, in a recording, or turning up for one in real time in your pajamas, on your bed, with your family photos behind you. None of those things would be in the workplace. So consider everything. When it says in a simulated workplace environment, that's exactly what it means. If it says your role play is no greater than 15 minutes, know that 15 minutes is how long your role play goes for. Just no greater than the 15 minutes. If it says 10, it means 10 minutes of your role play, and you're required to produce that. We would never see a client even under 10 minutes unless they were in a rush. Anyway, most of our time is 40 minutes. So you need to fulfill the absolute minimum that we have given you, and we've given it to you. We've told you not to go over. If you go too far over, we'll make some allowances. As long as you've got everything in there, we will definitely consider that. You need to save it as an MP4 or a Zoom in cloud, or save it to your own device, so that we can open it and we can do that. But for this one, we take care of all of that. You book in, we will make all of that happen for you. So look, I just want to say thank you for your time. I hope this has been a helpful resource. This is CHCADV005. I've gone over the practitioner skills, the role play, an overview of what it is that we're looking, so that you are competent to meet the standards that are required for achieving this unit as part of your diploma of mental health. So please reach out. You can contact learner support officers if you need a trainer or if you need to get some information down to the training team. But know that they are there for you. They are your first point of contact. And we really value and appreciate your input as well. We're in this together. We collaborate together in this space like you will with your clients. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Good luck. And we'll see you in a role play hopefully soon. But otherwise, please reach out. We're here to support you.